Tom Patterson stood in the middle of his granddaughter's engagement party, holding two sweating glasses of lemonade, when his wife of 35 years erased him. "Oh, Tom," Linda laughed. That new laugh she'd been practicing, bright and sharp as broken glass. "He's just a friend who shares the house. My real love story would bore you to death." The room didn't go quiet. That would have been kinder. Instead, it got louder, voices rising in awkward compensation, people suddenly fascinated by the appetizer table. Emily's fiancé looked confused. Linda's yoga friends smiled like they'd been waiting for the punchline. Tom stood there, 68 years old, sawdust still under his fingernails from building Emily's jewelry box that morning. The lemonade glasses were cold in his hands. He couldn't remember where he'd meant to set them down. That was April. By October, he'd learned that humiliation was just the opening move. The morning of the party, Tom had been happy. That was the part that stuck with him later, how completely he hadn't seen it coming. He'd woken at 5:30 like always, Linda's side of the bed already cold. She'd been doing that for months now, rising before him, gone to yoga or errands before he finished his first cup of coffee. He'd told himself it was fine. Retirement meant different schedules. People needed space. The workshop smelled like cedar and possibility. He'd spent 3 weeks on Emily's jewelry box, dovetail joints hand-cut, lid inlaid with maple in a pattern that matched the quilt her grandmother had made. Not Linda's mother. His first wife's mother, actually, back when he was 23 and stupid about love. But the quilt had survived the divorce, and Emily had claimed it at age 7, and now the pattern lived in wood. His hands were steady on the sandpaper. 150 grit, working with the grain. The radio played old country, Merle Haggard singing about Mama Tried. Tom had built this workshop in 1985, framed it himself, ran the electrical. Every tool hung on its outline on the pegboard. Every saw blade sharp, every morning the same. Coffee, radio, work that mattered. Linda's car pulled out of the driveway at 6:45. He heard it from the workshop. That new turbo engine sound she'd insisted on when they traded in the sedan last year. "I need something with more energy," she'd said. Tom had thought she meant cargo space. The jewelry box was perfect by noon. He wrapped it in brown paper, tied it with twine. Thought about Emily opening it tonight, maybe tearing up a little. She'd always been sentimental, his granddaughter. Cried at dog food commercials. He loved that about her, how she hadn't learned yet to hide things. The party was at the country club. Tom wore his good blazer, the one from Emily's high school graduation. Linda met him there, pulling up in a separate car. "I'm coming from the studio," she said, kissing his cheek. Her perfume was different, younger, something with vanilla and too much sweetness. Inside, the room buzzed with people. Tom knew most of them, church folks, family, Linda's new yoga crowd. He found Emily by the gift table, her engagement ring catching the light. "Grandpa!" She hugged him hard. "Did you finish it?" He handed her the box. Watched her face as she unwrapped it. Saw the exact moment she recognized the quilt pattern. Her eyes went wet. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Grandpa, this is—" She opened the lid. The hinges moved silent, perfectly balanced. Inside, he'd lined it with velvet. "This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Her fiancé, Jake, peered over her shoulder. "You made this, sir?" "Keeps me busy," Tom said. "Busy?" Jake shook his head. "This is art. This is— Emily, your grandfather's an artist." Tom felt his face warm. "Just woodworking." Emily set the box down carefully, hugged him again. "I'm putting my wedding rings in here. Forever. So they'll always smell like your workshop." That's when Tom thought everything was fine. Everything was good. His granddaughter loved him, and he'd built her something that would outlast them both. He went to get drinks. Found Linda by the bar with her yoga friends. 5 women in their 60s, all dressed like they were 40, all laughing at something on someone's phone. Tom carried the lemonade over. Fresh squeezed, the kind Linda liked. He'd watched the bartender make them. "Thought you might be thirsty," he said. Linda looked up. Something flickered across her face. Annoyance? Embarrassment? Then vanished behind that new smile. Oh, how sweet. She didn't take the glass. One of the women, Trish maybe, Tom could never keep them straight, leaned forward. "Linda, you never told us how you and Tom met." Was it romantic? The other women leaned in, eager. Tom smiled, ready for Linda to tell the story. The diner in Canton, the thunderstorm, how he'd given her his jacket and caught pneumonia. Linda laughed, that bright, sharp laugh. Oh, Tom. She waved her hand like she was brushing away a fly. He's just a friend who shares the house. My real love story. Well, that would bore you to death. The words landed like stones. Tom stood there, both hands full of lemonade, watching Linda's friends process what she'd said, watching them decide, in real time, to play along. Oh, I'm sure it wouldn't be boring, Trish said, but she was looking at Tom now with something like pity. The room got louder. Someone turned up the music. People moved toward the appetizer table in a wave. Emily stood by the gift table, her face frozen. Tom set the lemonade on the bar, walked outside, sat in his truck for 20 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, radio off. Linda never came looking for him. He drove home alone at 9. She stayed until midnight. He heard her car pull in, heard her heels on the hardwood, heard their bedroom door close. The jewelry box sat on his workbench, brown paper torn where Emily had opened it. The workshop smelled like cedar and coffee gone cold. Tom sat in his chair until 3 a.m., organizing screws by size, trying to understand what had just happened. The phone buzzed once. Linda, don't wait up tomorrow. Busy day. No mention of the party. No explanation. No apology. Tom looked at his hands. 68 years old. Scarred from decades of work. Still steady. He picked up a screw. Put it in the right container. Picked up another. Outside, the night pressed against the windows. Inside, every tool hung exactly where it belonged. He still didn't understand, but somewhere in his chest, something had started to crack. Tom didn't sleep. At 5 a.m., he was in the kitchen when Linda came through, already dressed for the gym in clothes he'd never seen before, tight leggings, a sports bra that cost more than his table saw. Linda. His voice came out rougher than he meant. About last night. She was checking her phone, thumbs flying. Didn't look up. What about it? What you said. To those women. About me being a friend? Now she looked at him. Her eyes were different in the morning light. Harder. Well, what are you, Tom? You retired 2 years ago, and you've done nothing but hide in that workshop. You're around all the time. Hovering. It's suffocating. The words hit different than the ones at the party. These were meant to land. I thought retirement meant we'd spend time together, Tom said. Travel, maybe. You used to talk about seeing the Grand Canyon. Linda laughed, not the bright, sharp one from last night. This one was tired. Mean. The Grand Canyon. Jesus, Tom. I don't want to look at a big hole in the ground with a man who's already checked out of life. She grabbed her keys. Tom stepped forward, trying to find the woman he'd married. The one who used to bring him lunch in the workshop. Who used to run her fingers through his hair while they watched TV. I haven't checked out, he said. I'm right here. That's the problem. She opened the door, stopped, turned back. Look, I've been feeling unappreciated, invisible. Since you retired, it's like you think we can just exist together in silence forever. Some of us need more. Something in Tom's chest loosened. This, he understood. Marriage stuff, communication problems, fixable things. Okay, he said. Okay, let's talk about it. What if we see someone? A counselor? Linda's face did something complicated. A counselor? Yeah, if you're feeling invisible, if I'm hovering, we can work on it, right? She looked at him for a long moment. Tom saw something move behind her eyes. Calculation, maybe, or relief. He couldn't tell which. Sure, she said finally. I'll look up some names. She left. The door clicked shut. Tom stood in the kitchen, coffee going cold in his cup, feeling like he'd just stopped a bleeding wound. Not fixed it, just stopped the bleeding. For 3 days, things were better. Linda smiled at him over breakfast. Let him kiss her cheek. Tom made himself scarce during the day. Short workshop sessions, errands, anything to give her space. He complimented her new workout clothes, asked about her day, tried to be present without hovering. Wednesday night, she showed him a name on her phone. Dr. Morrison, she has Friday afternoon available. 2 o'clock. I booked us. Tom felt something unknot in his shoulders. That's good. That's really good, Linda. She squeezed his hand. Her skin was soft. He'd forgotten that. Thursday, he worked on a new project, a bench for the front porch. Something they could sit on together in the evenings, watch the neighborhood, be together without words the way they used to. Friday morning, Tom shaved carefully, put on the shirt Linda had bought him last Christmas, drove to the workshop supply store and bought her favorite coffee, the expensive kind with the French name. At 1:30, he came inside to change. Linda's car was gone. He called her cell. Tom? She sounded distracted. Background noise, a gym maybe, music and weights clanging. It's 1:30. Our appointment's at 2. Silence. Then, what appointment? His stomach dropped. The counselor, Dr. Morrison. You said, oh. Linda's voice went flat. I canceled that. When? Monday. I texted you. Tom pulled out his phone, scrolled through messages. Nothing from Linda about counseling. Just her usual. Getting groceries. Be home late. Don't wait for dinner. Linda, there's no text. Well, I meant to. A man's voice in the background, laughing. Linda covered the phone. Tom heard muffled words. Then she was back. Look, I just don't think we need to pay someone to tell us what's obvious. You need to find a life outside that workshop. I need space. It's not complicated. But you said, I have to go. My trainer's waiting. The line went dead. Tom stood in his bedroom, good shirt buttoned, French coffee on the counter, everything in him wanting to believe this was a misunderstanding, a miscommunication, something fixable. He called Dr. Morrison's office. The receptionist was kind. Oh yes, Mr. Patterson. Your wife called Monday morning. She said you'd decided not to proceed with therapy. She said I decided? That's what she told me. I'm sorry, is there confusion? Tom thanked her, hung up, sat on the bed he'd shared with Linda for 35 years. The coffee was still warm on the counter. The shirt felt too tight. Outside, a mockingbird was going through its repertoire, stolen songs from better birds. He walked to the workshop, didn't turn on the lights, just sat in his chair in the dimness, surrounded by tools that worked, wood that behaved according to laws he understood. His phone buzzed. Ed Kowalski from next door. Coffee tomorrow. Haven't seen you at the usual time. Tom stared at the text. Ed was 72, a Korean War vet, widowed 5 years. They'd been having coffee on Tom's porch every morning for a decade, except Tom hadn't been there all week. Had been too busy trying to save his marriage to notice he was skipping the one friendship that actually showed up. He texted back, yeah, 6 a.m. Sorry I've been absent. Ed's reply was immediate. No apology needed. See you tomorrow, friend. The word hit different now. Friend. Tom looked around his workshop. Every tool in place, every project half finished or complete, everything exactly where it belonged. Except him. He didn't know where he belonged anymore. The mockingbird kept singing. Someone else's songs. Someone else's life. Tom turned off his phone, sat in the dark, and tried not to think about the man's voice he'd heard in the background of Linda's call. Ed came back 3 days later with the manila folder. Tom was in the workshop, sanding a chair rail he didn't need, when he heard the knock. 2 raps, pause, 1 rap, their signal now. Ed's hands shook as he set the folder on the workbench, not from age, from anger. Tom, I need you to sit down. I'm fine standing. Sit down. Tom sat. Ed opened the folder. Inside, photographs, printed bank statements, real estate documents. He laid them out one by one like a prosecutor building a case. Derek Vance, 45, personal trainer at Elite Fitness downtown. Divorced twice. Filed for bankruptcy in 2019. Ed tapped the first photo. This is him and Linda at Romano's. Last Tuesday. You were at the hardware store. I remember because you texted me about deck screws. Tom looked at the photo. Linda was leaning across the table, laughing. Derek had his hand over hers. This one's from Friday. Another photo. Outside a lawyer's office. Tom recognized the building. Morrison and Associates, estate planning specialists. She told you she canceled the counselor, Ed said. She did, but she didn't cancel the lawyer. Tom's throat felt tight. What kind of lawyer? The kind that handles wills, power of attorney, asset protection. Ed pulled out bank statements. Your joint savings account. See these withdrawals? $40,000 over 6 months, all transferred to an account in Linda's name only. Her nephew pulled these. He's a CPA, owed me a favor. The numbers swam on the page. 40,000, 6 months. Tom hadn't seen a bank statement since April. There's more. Ed's voice went softer, which made it worse. I talked to your doctor's office. Pretended I was confirming an appointment. Linda scheduled you a checkup 3 weeks ago. Told them beforehand she was concerned about your memory. Tom looked up. My memory's fine. I know that. You know that. But she's building a story, Tom. Ed pulled out printed emails. How he'd gotten them, Tom didn't want to know. These are to your son. Dad seems confused lately. He forgot to pay the electric bill. I'm worried about his forgetfulness. I didn't forget anything. Bills are on autopay. I know. Ed's jaw was tight. My Annie died of Alzheimer's. I watched her disappear piece by piece. So when I see someone faking it, using it like a weapon... He stopped, took a breath. Tom, she's setting you up, building a paper trail that says you're incompetent. The word hung in the air. Incompetent. Why would she? Because if she can prove you're declining, she can get power of attorney, control everything. The house, the bank accounts, your medical decisions. You become legally invisible. Ed pulled out one more paper. This is a real estate assessment. She had the house appraised 2 weeks ago. Never mentioned needing your signature. Tom picked up the paper. His house, the one he'd built with his own hands in 1985, framed every wall, hung every door, assessed at $340,000. She's not just leaving you, Ed said quietly. She's erasing you. Tom set the paper down. His hands were steady. That surprised him. Everything else was shaking, but his hands were steady. How long have you known? I suspected for 2 weeks. Confirmed it yesterday. Ed's voice cracked. I'm sorry, Tom. I'm so damn sorry. They sat in silence. The workshop smelled like sawdust and old coffee. Outside, someone's dog barked. Life continuing like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Tom looked at the folder. The evidence of his wife's 18-month plan to make him disappear. Not with violence, not with drama, with paperwork. With medical appointments and bank transfers and whispered concerns to family members. What do I do? He asked. Ed met his eyes. You fight back, and you document everything. Because in this world, Tom, proof beats truth every single time. Tom nodded slowly, picked up the folder, felt its weight. Okay, he said. Tell me how. Part 4. The Truth Unveiled, 800 words. Ed came back 3 days later with the manila folder. Tom was in the workshop, sanding a chair rail he didn't need when he heard the knock. 2 raps, pause, 1 rap. Their signal now. Ed's hands shook as he set the folder on the workbench. Not from age, from anger. Tom, I need you to sit down. I'm fine standing. Sit down. Tom sat. Ed opened the folder. Inside, photographs, printed bank statements, real estate documents. He laid them out one by one like a prosecutor building a case. Derek Vance, 45, personal trainer at Elite Fitness downtown, divorced twice. Filed for bankruptcy in 2019. Ed tapped the first photo. This is him and Linda at Romano's. Last Tuesday. You were at the hardware store. I remember because you texted me about deck screws. Tom looked at the photo. Linda was leaning across the table, laughing. Derek had his hand over hers. This one's from Friday. Another photo. Outside a lawyer's office. Tom recognized the building, Morrison and Associates, estate planning specialists. She told you she canceled the counselor, Ed said. She did, but she didn't cancel the lawyer. Tom's throat felt tight. What kind of lawyer? The kind that handles wills, power of attorney, asset protection. Ed pulled out bank statements. Your joint savings account. See these withdrawals? $40,000 over 6 months, all transferred to an account in Linda's name only. My nephew pulled these. He's a CPA, owed me a favor. The numbers swam on the page, 40,000. 6 months. Tom hadn't seen a bank statement since April. There's more. Ed's voice went softer, which made it worse. I talked to your doctor's office, pretended I was confirming an appointment. Linda scheduled you a checkup 3 weeks ago, told them beforehand she was concerned about your memory. Tom looked up. My memory's fine. I know that. You know that. But she's building a story, Tom. Ed pulled out printed emails. How he'd gotten them, Tom didn't want to know. These are to your son. Dad seems confused lately. He forgot to pay the electric bill. I'm worried about his forgetfulness. I didn't forget anything. Bills are on autopay. I know. Ed's jaw was tight. My Annie died of Alzheimer's. I watched her disappear piece by piece. So when I see someone faking it, using it like a weapon, he stopped, took a breath. Tom, she's setting you up. Building a paper trail that says you're incompetent. The word hung in the air. Incompetent. Tom stood up, walked to the window. The yard outside looked the same as it always had. Grass needing mowing, the oak tree he'd planted when they moved in, bird feeder Emily had made in 3rd grade still hanging from the lowest branch. Why would she do this? His voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. I don't know. Money, maybe. The trainer. Fear of getting old. Ed came to stand beside him. Does it matter why? Tom thought about that. Linda in the morning light, harder-eyed. Linda at the party, laughing while she erased him. Linda canceling the counselor, redirecting the mail, draining accounts. No, he said finally. I guess it doesn't. Ed pulled out one more document. Real estate assessment. She had the house appraised 2 weeks ago, the one you built with your own hands. Tom took the paper. $340,000. He remembered every board, every nail. Summer of 1985, him and his brother-in-law framing walls in 100-degree heat. Linda bringing them lemonade, 8 months pregnant with their son, her hand on his shoulder. It's beautiful, Tom. Our home. She's not just leaving you, Ed said quietly. She's erasing you. And if she can prove you're incompetent, get power of attorney. Tom, you'd need her permission to fight her. You'd be legally invisible. The words landed like punches. Tom set down the assessment, picked up the bank statements, the photos, the emails to his son. How long has she been planning this? Based on the P.O. box paperwork. About 18 months. 18 months. A year and a half of smiles and kisses and, how was your day, honey? While she systematically built a case that he was disappearing. Tom's phone buzzed. He pulled it out. His son. Hey, Dad, just checking in. You feeling okay? He stared at the text, felt the shape of Linda's work, the whispers, the emails, the careful construction of concern. His own son asking if he was okay because his mother had spent a year and a half teaching him to doubt his father's mind. Tom typed back, I'm fine. Can we talk later this week? His son's reply was immediate. Sure, love you, Dad. Tom set the phone down, looked at Ed. She told me I was hovering, that I'd checked out of life, made me feel like I was the problem. That's what they do, Ed said. Make you doubt yourself while they build the cage. They stood in silence. The workshop felt smaller suddenly, every tool in its place, every project half finished. Tom had spent 2 years in here, building things, staying out of Linda's way, trying to be less of a burden, while she planned his erasure. My lawyer's name is Patricia Chen, Ed said. She handled Annie's estate, sharp as they come. I already called her. She can see you tomorrow morning if you want. Tom looked at his hands. 68 years old, scarred from decades of work. Still steady. Still capable of building, fixing, creating. Still capable of fighting. Yeah, he said. I want. Ed nodded. Started gathering the papers back into the folder, stopped, pulled out one more item, a letter, handwritten, already opened. This came to my house yesterday, forwarded from a mutual friend. It's from Margaret. Tom went still. Margaret, his first wife, the one who'd cheated on him 40 years ago. He hadn't spoken to her in decades. Why would Margaret read it? Tom took the letter. Margaret's handwriting, still the same after all these years. Neat, precise, a teacher's hand. Ed, I heard through Joanne Peterson that Linda's been asking questions about Tom, about the divorce, about how long it took him to stop fighting back then. I told her the truth. Tom doesn't give up. He goes quiet while he figures things out, but he doesn't surrender. Linda said, perfect, like she was glad to hear it. I don't know what she's planning, but I know that tone. That's the voice I used when I was lying to him, when I was building my exit. Please tell Tom I'm sorry. For then and for whatever's happening now, he deserved better from me. He deserves better from her. Tom read it twice. Linda had contacted his ex-wife, had researched his patterns, had learned that he went quiet when hurt, and had decided that made him the perfect target. This was an impulse. This wasn't a midlife crisis or an affair gone wrong. This was premeditated. Ed's voice was gentle. Tom, she studied you like a mark, figured out your weaknesses, and built a strategy. That's not marriage. That's not even divorce. That's warfare, Tom finished. Yeah. Tom folded the letter, set it with the other papers, looked around his workshop, his refuge, his peace, the place where things made sense. Linda wanted to take it all, the house, the money, his dignity, his legal right to exist as himself. She wanted him declared incompetent, dependent. Disappeared. Patricia Chen, Tom said. What time tomorrow? 9 a.m. I'll be there. Ed squeezed his shoulder, left the folder on the workbench, left Tom alone with the evidence of his wife's 18-month plan. Tom sat in his chair as the sun went down, didn't turn on the lights, just sat in the gathering dark, surrounded by tools that worked and wood that behaved, and a life that suddenly made a terrible kind of sense. His phone buzzed again. Linda. Don't wait up. Dinner with the girls. Tom looked at the text, at the casual lie, at how easy it was for her. He didn't respond. Just set the phone down and sat in the darkness, building a plan of his own. If Linda wanted warfare, she'd get it. But this time, Tom wasn't going quiet. This time, he was gathering ammunition. Patricia Chen's office smelled like leather and old books. She was 50-something, gray hair pulled back, reading glasses on a chain. She listened to Tom's story without interrupting, taking notes in a leather portfolio. When he finished, she set down her pen. Mr. Patterson, your wife is executing what we call an incompetency play. It's elder abuse dressed up in legal paperwork, and it's more common than you'd think. Tom's stomach turned. Elder abuse. That's what this is. Financial exploitation combined with attempts to strip your legal capacity. She opened the folder Ed had given him, studied the documents. The good news? She's been sloppy. The bad news? You need to move fast. If she files for conservatorship and gets a sympathetic judge, you'll spend months proving you're competent. It's nearly impossible to win that fight after the fact. So what do I do? Patricia leaned forward. You document everything. Your competency, her deception, the financial fraud. We build a case so airtight she can't breathe. She pulled out a legal pad. First, medical evaluation. Full cognitive assessment from your doctor. Written statement of mental capacity. Done. I'll call today. Second, evidence of complex task completion. Can you film yourself doing detailed work, woodworking, repairs, anything that requires planning and precision? Tom thought of his workshop. Yeah, I can do that. Third, witnesses. Anyone who can testify that you're fully functional and that Linda's been lying about your condition. Ed, my granddaughter Emily, she's heard Linda talking about me declining. Patricia made notes. Good. We'll need their statements. Also, we'll need financial forensics on those transfers. My investigator can help with that. She looked up. Mr. Patterson, this is going to be hard. You'll have to prove your worth like you're on trial. It's going to feel humiliating. More humiliating than being declared incompetent? No, she said. It's not. That afternoon, Tom called Dr. Peterson. Had been his physician for 20 years. The nurse put him through immediately. Tom, I'm glad you called. Your wife scheduled that appointment, but when I asked you those memory questions, Tom, there's nothing wrong with you. What's going on? Tom explained. Not all of it. Just enough. Dr. Peterson was quiet for a moment. She told me you'd been forgetting things, repeating yourself, getting lost driving. His voice hardened. Tom, I've known you 2 decades. You're sharper than half my 40-year-old patients. This is... He stopped. Come in Thursday. I'll do a full cognitive battery, and I'll document everything. Ed showed up that evening with 3 other men from the VFW post. They sat in Tom's living room, veterans in their 70s, coffee cups in weathered hands, faces that had seen worse than this, but were angry anyway. My daughter tried this with her mother-in-law, one said. Bill Henderson, Purple Heart from Vietnam, claimed the old lady was losing it so she could get the house. We stopped it, but it took 6 months and cost a fortune. What worked? Tom asked. Documentation, video evidence of competency, witnesses who'd testify, bank records showing the theft. Once we had it all organized, the judge threw it out in 10 minutes. Bill leaned forward. But you gotta be thorough. Can't give them any room to maneuver. Another vet, Marcus, pulled out his phone. My nephew's a CPA. He can do forensic accounting on those transfers. Track every dollar. Show the pattern. I'll take whatever help you're offering, Tom said. Ed stood. Let's go to the workshop. We'll help you set up the videos. They spent 2 hours setting up Tom's phone on a tripod, testing angles, getting the lighting right. Tom felt ridiculous at first, a 68-year-old man performing his competency for a camera. Then he remembered what Patricia had said. Proof beats truth. Start with something complex, Ed suggested. Dovetail joints. Show the measuring, the cutting, the fitting. Tom picked up a piece of cherry wood, started measuring. The camera recorded everything. His steady hands, his precise cuts, his problem-solving when a joint was too tight. He talked while he worked, dating and time-stamping everything. Tuesday, November 7th, building a drawer with hand-cut dovetails, measuring the pin board. It took 3 hours. When he finished, he had a drawer that fit perfectly, and video evidence that his mind and hands worked fine. Ed reviewed the footage. That's good, Tom. Real good. Do another one tomorrow. And the day after. Build a pattern. Wednesday, Tom's phone rang. Emily. Grandpa, can we meet? Somewhere Grandma won't see. They met at a diner on the edge of town. Emily was already there, phone on the table, eyes red. I've been keeping something from you, she said. I didn't know what to do with it, but after the party, Grandpa, I think Grandma's lying about you. Tom's chest tightened. What do you mean? Emily opened her phone, showed him text messages, months of them. Grandma, Emily honey, Grandpa's been forgetting things lately. Don't leave him alone with the kids, okay? Grandma, I'm worried about his driving. Has Jake noticed anything? Grandma, the doctor thinks it might be early dementia. We're looking at care facilities. Tom read them, his coffee going cold. Emily was crying. I'm a social worker, Grandpa. I know what elder abuse looks like. I've been documenting everything for 6 months because something felt wrong, but I didn't know if I was crazy or... You're not crazy. She's been coaching me, teaching me to doubt you. She sent me links to Alzheimer's websites, asked me to prepare Jake for you going into care. Emily's voice broke. And I almost believed her. I almost... Tom reached across the table, took her hand. But you didn't. You documented instead. I have voice memos, too, of her practicing what she'd say to the doctor, to your lawyer. She was rehearsing, Grandpa, like lines in a play. Can I have copies? I already sent them to Uncle David's email. And my lawyer's. She looked up. I'm testifying, Grandpa. Whatever this is, whatever she's planning, I'm not letting her do this to you. Tom's eyes burned. His granddaughter, 23 years old, risking her relationship with her grandmother, her family's peace, maybe even her wedding funding. For truth. For him. Emily, you don't have to... Yes, I do. Her jaw was set. You taught me to use a hammer when I was 7, came to every school play, built me a jewelry box that made me cry, and she's trying to erase you like you never existed. She squeezed his hand. So yeah, I'm testifying. That night, Tom sat in his workshop with all the evidence spread out. Doctor. Peterson's written assessment. Patient demonstrates no cognitive impairment. Fully competent. Videos of his woodworking. Emily's text messages. Bank records showing Linda's transfers. Real estate assessments. Ed's photographs. A case. A defense. Proof he existed. His phone buzzed. Linda. Late meeting. Don't wait up. Tom looked at the text, at the casual dismissal. Then he looked at the evidence on his bench. She thought he was disappearing. She was wrong. Tom picked up his phone, texted Patricia Chen. I'm ready. What's next? Her reply came fast. We file a response to any conservatorship attempt, and we prepare for mediation. She'll present her case. We'll destroy it. Tom set the phone down, looked around his workshop. Every tool in place. Every project a testament to a working mind. Linda had 18 months of planning. Tom had a lifetime of building things that lasted. He knew which one would win. The mediation date was set for 3 weeks out. Linda didn't know yet. She'd find out when Patricia's response to her lawyer arrived. Tom spent those weeks building his defense the way he'd built his house, one board at a time, everything measured twice. He filmed himself every day. Complex projects, detailed work, a jewelry box with inlaid veneer, a bookshelf with compound miter joints. Each video dated, time-stamped, narrated in his steady voice. Dr. Peterson's cognitive tests came back perfect. Memory, problem-solving, executive function, all normal for his age, better than normal. The doctor wrote it in bold on the assessment. No evidence of cognitive decline. Patient is fully competent in all evaluated areas. But the rest of the world kept turning, and Linda kept building her narrative. Sunday morning, Tom went to church for the first time in weeks. He'd been avoiding it, couldn't face the questions, the looks. But Patricia had said witnesses mattered, and half the congregation had known him for 30 years. Mrs. Henderson caught him by the coffee station after service. Her voice dropped to that careful tone people use around the dying. Tom, honey, Linda told us about your troubles. We're all praying for you. Such a burden for her, bless her heart. Tom's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. What troubles? She touched his arm, gentle, pitying. Your memory, dear. She's been so worried. We all have. If you need anything, rides to appointments, meals. Tom set down the coffee. Mrs. Henderson, my memory's fine. I'm not sick. Her smile got sadder. Of course, dear. Of course you are. She patted his arm again, walked away. Tom stood by the coffee station, watching her go. Linda had poisoned the well. The whole congregation thought he was declining, felt sorry for Linda, the devoted wife, caring for her confused husband. He left before anyone else could offer sympathy he didn't need. His son called that afternoon. Tom almost didn't answer. Dad, hey. Mom said you've been having some difficulties. I wanted to check in. What kind of difficulties? David was quiet. She said you've been forgetting things, getting confused. She's worried about you living alone if something happens to her. Tom's grip tightened on the phone. David, I'm not confused. I'm not forgetting things. Did your mother tell you she drained $40,000 from our savings without telling me? Silence. Did she tell you she's been meeting with estate lawyers? That she had the house appraised without my knowledge? Dad, I'm not sick, son, but something's very wrong. Can we talk? In person? More silence. Then, yeah, we should. I'll come up this weekend. After they hung up, Tom sat on the porch. Ed's rocker was empty. He was at physical therapy for his knees. The street was quiet, leaves falling, November settling in cold and gray. His daughter hadn't called, hadn't returned his messages. Emily said she was still processing, still couldn't believe her mother would lie like this. Some betrayals were too big to see clearly. Ed came by that evening with news. Derek backed out. My friend at the gym says he quit, moved to Cincinnati. Gone. Tom absorbed that. Linda's personal trainer, her excuse, her proof she was still young and desired, had run when things got complicated. Does Linda know? If she does, she hasn't let on. Her lawyer sent the conservatorship filing yesterday. You're officially being declared incompetent unless we fight it. Tom nodded. He'd been expecting this. Patricia had warned him. Mediation's in 2 weeks, Ed continued. You ready? Tom thought about his videos, Dr. Peterson's report, Emily's testimony, the bank records showing theft, the emails showing lies. Yeah, he said, I'm ready. Ed studied him. You know, my Annie used to say the hardest battles are the ones where you have to prove you're human. Where just being yourself isn't enough. You gotta document it, defend it, fight for the right to be believed. Tom understood. How'd she handle it? She documented everything, kept journals, made videos, said if the disease took her mind, at least there'd be proof she'd been here. Ed's voice roughened. Linda's using that playbook in reverse, trying to make people think you're gone when you're standing right in front of them. Not for much longer. They sat in silence. The November wind picked up. Somewhere down the street, someone was burning leaves, that sharp autumn smell. Tom's phone buzzed. Linda. Working late. Again. He didn't respond. Just pocketed the phone and looked at Ed. 2 weeks, Tom said. Then we show them exactly how present I am. Ed raised his coffee cup. Damn right we do. Part 7. The Courtroom Truth. 820 words. The mediation room smelled like floor wax and stale coffee. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Tom sat at a long table, Patricia Chen on his left, Ed on his right. Across from him, Linda and her lawyer, a sharp-suited woman named Rebecca Walsh. Linda hadn't looked at him once, not when they'd entered, not during the preliminaries. She sat with her hands folded, wearing a navy dress Tom had never seen before, her face arranged in an expression of patient suffering. The mediator, Judge Sarah Walters, reviewed the paperwork. 60-something, reading glasses, the air of someone who'd seen every kind of family ugliness there was. We're here to address Mrs. Patterson's petition for conservatorship based on alleged cognitive decline of her husband, Thomas Patterson. She looked up. Mrs. Walsh, you may present your case. Rebecca Walsh stood, opened her folder with the confidence of someone holding winning cards. Your Honor, this is a heartbreaking situation. Mrs. Patterson has been watching her husband of 35 years slowly lose himself. Memory lapses. Confusion, inability to manage basic household tasks. She pulled out papers. I have emails to their adult children documenting his decline, medical appointment notes showing Mrs. Patterson's concerns, witnesses who've observed his behavior. She laid out Linda's case like a prosecutor. The forgotten bills, except Tom's, were on autopay. The confused conversations, except Tom's son would later say he hadn't noticed anything. The doctor's appointment, except Dr. Peterson had found nothing wrong. Mrs. Patterson is seeking conservatorship not out of malice, but out of love. She wants to protect her husband, ensure his safety, preserve their assets for his care. This is about dignity in decline. Rebecca sat down. Linda dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Perfect performance. Judge Walters turned to Patricia. Ms. Chen? Patricia stood, didn't rush, let the moment breathe. Your Honor, Mr. Patterson is not declining. He's being framed. She opened her own folder. Dr. Peterson, Mr. Patterson's physician of 20 years, performed a comprehensive cognitive evaluation last week. The results? Perfect. No memory issues, no confusion, no decline. She slid the report across. In fact, Dr. Peterson notes that Mrs. Patterson's claims directly contradict his observations over 2 decades of care. Judge Walters read the report. Her eyebrows rose slightly. Patricia continued. We also have video evidence. Mr. Patterson has been documenting his daily activities. She pulled out her tablet, queued up the videos. This is from last Tuesday. hand-cut dovetail joints. This requires measuring, calculating angles, precise cutting, spatial reasoning, not the work of a confused man. The video played. Tom's voice, steady and clear, narrating each step. His hands, precise and confident. The finished drawer, fitting perfectly. We have 6 more videos spanning 2 weeks, all showing complex problem-solving and manual dexterity. Rebecca Walsh shifted in her seat. Linda's tissue had stopped moving. But let's talk about what's really happening here. Patricia's voice hardened. Mrs. Patterson has spent 18 months building a false narrative while systematically draining marital assets. She produced bank statements. $40,000 transferred to accounts in her name only. Mr. Patterson wasn't informed, wasn't consulted. The money is simply gone. There's a medical reason for that, Rebecca started. There is no medical reason, Patricia cut in. There's theft. She pulled out more documents. Mrs. Patterson also had their home appraised without Mr. Patterson's knowledge or consent, had mail redirected to a P.O. box, met with estate attorneys, not marriage counselors, to discuss asset protection. Judge Walters leaned forward. Ms. Walsh, did your client redirect household mail? Rebecca looked at Linda. Linda whispered something. Rebecca cleared her throat. For organizational purposes, Your Honor. Organizational purposes. Patricia's tone made it sound absurd. She was hiding financial documents while building a case that her husband was incompetent to manage those same finances. We have witnesses, Rebecca said, defensive now. So do we. Patricia nodded to Ed. Ed stood, walked to the front, put his hand on the Bible. His voice was steady, but Tom could hear the anger underneath. I'm Edward Kowalski. I've known Tom Patterson for 15 years. We have coffee every morning. I watched my wife die of Alzheimer's over 5 years. I know what cognitive decline looks like. He looked directly at Judge Walters. This ain't it. Tom's sharp as he's ever been, but Mrs. Patterson has been running a campaign, whispering to neighbors, telling church folks he's sick. I followed her for 2 weeks. She wasn't at yoga classes. She was meeting a personal trainer named Derek Vance, and she was visiting lawyers. Rebecca stood. Your Honor, this is hearsay. It's observation, Ed said. I got photos if you want them. Judge Walters waved Rebecca down. Continue, Mr. Kowalski. Tom Patterson built his house with his own hands, still maintains it, still builds furniture that had cost thousands in stores, still remembers every conversation we have. His wife's been lying, and I won't sit quiet while she tries to steal his life. Ed sat down. Patricia called the next witness. Emily Patterson, Mr. Patterson's granddaughter. Emily walked to the front. She was pale but composed. Wouldn't look at Linda. Ms. Patterson, you're a social worker, correct? Yes, ma'am. I specialize in elder care. And what's your professional assessment of this situation? Emily pulled out her phone. I've been documenting my grandmother's statements for 6 months. She's been coaching family members to believe Grandpa's declining, sending articles about dementia, asking me to prepare my fiancé for Grandpa going into assisted living. She scrolled through texts. Quote, Emily, don't leave him alone with kids. He's not safe. I'm a mandated reporter. I know elder abuse when I see it. This is financial exploitation with competency manipulation. Linda's face had gone white. Rebecca was whispering urgently in her ear. I have voice memos too, Emily continued, of Grandma practicing what to say to doctors, to lawyers, rehearsing her concerned wife voice. Her voice cracked. I almost believed her. That's how good she is. But then I watched my grandfather, actually watched him, and he's fine. He's always been fine. Judge Walters held up a hand. Ms. Walsh, I'm going to ask your client a direct question. She turned to Linda. Mrs. Patterson, did you tell your granddaughter's fiancé that your husband would be in assisted living within 6 months? The room went silent. Linda looked at her lawyer, at Emily's phone with its damning texts, at Tom's calm face across the table. Her voice came out small. I felt invisible. Tom retired and he was just content, happy in that workshop. And I was drowning. He didn't see me anymore. That's what marriage counseling is for, Judge Walters said quietly. Not fraud. Not attempting to strip your husband's legal rights. Linda put her head in her hands. Judge Walters reviewed the documents, the videos, the testimony, the bank statements. Mr. Patterson clearly retains full legal capacity. There is no basis for conservatorship. Furthermore, the evidence suggests financial impropriety that may warrant further investigation. She looked at Linda. Mrs. Patterson, you will return the $40,000 within 30 days. The marital home will remain with Mr. Patterson given his documented contribution to its construction and your demonstrated intent to dispose of it without his consent. Dissolution proceedings may continue through normal channels, but there will be no conservatorship. This petition is denied. The gavel came down. Linda stood quickly, left without a word. Rebecca Walsh gathered her papers, avoiding eye contact. Tom sat still. He'd won. The evidence had worked. The documentation, the witnesses, but winning felt hollow. Necessary, but hollow. Outside the courthouse, Emily hugged him hard. I'm sorry, Grandpa. I'm so sorry. You didn't do anything wrong. I almost believed her. But you didn't. Tom held her at arm's length. You chose truth. That's harder than people think. Ed shook his hand. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Patricia Chen smiled. Good work, Mr. Patterson. You documented your existence. Not many people can do that under pressure. Tom nodded, thanked her, got in his truck, drove home alone through November streets. The house was still his. The workshop was still his. Linda's car was already gone from the driveway, half her clothes missing from the closet. He sat on the porch. October wind had turned to November cold. The rocker beside him, Ed's rocker, was empty. He'd won, but he'd also lost 35 years of believing he knew his wife. Tom sat there until dark, watching the neighborhood settle into evening, trying to figure out which hurt worse, the betrayal or the fact that he'd had to prove he was real. Linda was gone within a week. No final conversation, no explanation, just empty closet space and a forwarding address in Arizona, her cousin's place, Tom heard through the grapevine. The house felt bigger without her. Not better, just bigger. Tom walked through rooms that echoed now. The kitchen where they'd had coffee for 35 years. The bedroom where they'd talked about dreams that turned out to be lies. Every space held ghosts of a marriage that maybe had never been what he'd thought it was. He made coffee for one, kept forgetting and setting out 2 cups, had to put one back. Ed showed up every morning like clockwork, never asked how Tom was doing, just brought coffee and sat in the second rocker, and that was enough. His son called 2 days after the hearing. Dad, I'm sorry. I should have known. Should have asked you directly instead of just believing. You believed your mother, Tom said. That's not wrong. But I didn't believe you. That was. They talked for an hour. David promised to visit for Thanksgiving. Actually meant it this time. His daughter took longer. Sarah had sided with Linda harder, felt betrayed by both of them now. Emily was working on her slowly. Some wounds needed time. Church was complicated. Tom went back the Sunday after the hearing. Mrs. Henderson approached, her face pink with embarrassment. Tom, I heard what really happened. I'm so sorry. We all just assumed. It's okay. It's not okay. We should have asked you. Should have trusted you. Tom nodded, accepted her apology, sat through service feeling the eyes on him, some sympathetic, some curious, some still unsure what to believe. The pastor pulled him aside after. The men's group would like you to speak about resilience, if you're willing. Tom thought about it. Maybe. Not yet, though. Whenever you're ready. 2 weeks after the hearing, the community college called. Tom had put in an application months ago, back when Linda first started acting strange, before he'd known what was coming. Mr. Patterson, we have an opening in continuing education. Introduction to woodworking. Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Are you still interested? Tom looked around his workshop. All those tools, all that knowledge, no reason to keep it to himself. Yeah, he said. I'm interested. The first class was 8 students, mixed ages. One woman his age, Recent widow, Tom guessed from the way she held herself. Learning new skills for a new life. He taught them dovetail joints. It's about patience, he explained, guiding hands on saws. The pieces don't force. They fit because you measured right. A young guy in the back, maybe 30, wedding ring still leaving a tan line on his finger, said, "What if you measured wrong? Then you measure again. Start over. Wood's forgiving if you respect it." The class was quiet. Tom realized he wasn't just talking about woodwork. Emily visited on a Saturday with Jake. They sat on the porch, coffee and October sunshine. "Grandpa, we were wondering." Emily's hand found Jake's. "Would you build something for our wedding? An arbor, maybe?" Tom's chest tightened. "You don't have to do that, honey. I'm not asking out of obligation. I want something you made." "Because it'll matter." Jake nodded. "She talks about that treehouse you built her." "I'd be honored, sir." Tom looked at his granddaughter, 23 years old, brave enough to tell the truth when it cost her something. "I'd like that," he said. That afternoon, he started sketching. Oak arbor, hand-carved details. Something strong enough to last. Something that would prove he'd been here. 6 months later, spring came to Ohio like a quiet promise. Tom stood in the community college parking lot, loading the arbor into his truck. Oak, hand-carved, joints that would last 50 years. Emily's wedding was tomorrow. Outdoor ceremony, 70 guests, the arbor as centerpiece. Ed helped him secure it with moving blankets. "That's fine work, Tom." "Had to be. It's for her." They drove to the venue together. The event coordinator showed them where it would stand, on a small hill overlooking a pond, dogwoods blooming white around it. Tom and Ed set it up. Checked the legs were level. Stepped back. "She's gonna cry," Ed said. "Yeah," Tom agreed. "She will." Wedding day was clear and warm. Tom sat in the front row, his good suit pressed. Ed beside him, in his dress uniform from Korea. Emily had asked Ed to sit with family. "Your grandpa's best friend. That makes you mine, too." Linda wasn't there. Tom had heard she was still in Arizona, dating someone, trying to start over. He hoped she found whatever she'd been looking for. He really did. His daughter Sarah came, sat 2 rows back. They'd had coffee twice. Weren't fixed, but they were healing. Some things took time. David sat on Tom's other side with his wife. Squeezed Tom's shoulder before the music started. Emily walked down the aisle in her mother's dress, stopped at Tom's row, leaned down and kissed his cheek. "Thank you for the arbor, Grandpa. For everything." Tom's eyes burned, but he smiled. "You're welcome, sweetheart." She married Jake under the oak arbor. I vows about truth and building things that lasted. When she said, "I do," a breeze moved through the dogwoods, and Tom thought about permanence, about what survives. At the reception, Emily gave a toast. "My grandfather taught me that building something real takes time and truth. This arbor will stand for decades. So will this marriage. So will our family, the real one, built on honesty." She raised her glass. "To Grandpa, for showing us what strength looks like." Tom didn't cry, but it was close. Tuesday evening, Tom's woodworking class was full now. 12 students. The recent widow had built a jewelry box. The divorced guy was working on a chair. A teenage girl whose father died was making a table, following Tom's patient instructions. "Measure twice," Tom reminded them. "Cut once. And if you mess up, that's okay. Start again." Wood forgives honest mistakes. After class, the teenage girl showed him her finished piece. Simple box, imperfect joints, but made with care. "My dad would have liked this," she said quietly. "He'd be proud," Tom told her. "You earned it." That night, Tom sat in his workshop. Spring evening, windows open, smell of fresh-cut grass and sawdust. The radio played old country. Ed's truck was in the driveway. He'd be over for coffee in the morning. Tom started a new project. A rocking chair, hardwood, curved runners, hand-carved arms, no deadline, no recipient, just the work itself. His phone sat silent on the bench. No texts from Linda, probably never would be. He picked up sandpaper. started the long, patient work of smoothing rough edges. Outside, kids rode bikes past his house. The Hendersons walked their dog. Spring moved into summer, seasons insisting, life continuing. Tom worked until the light faded, then sat in the darkness, listening to the neighborhood settle, his hands smelling like wood and thyme. He'd lost a wife, fought a legal battle, proven his existence on paper like a man defending his right to be real. But here, in this workshop, with these tools, these hands that still worked, he didn't need proof anymore. He just needed to keep building. The rocking chair took shape slowly. Tom wasn't in a hurry. Had nowhere to be except right here. At 68, he'd learned something his father never had. Going quiet doesn't mean you're broken. Sometimes it just means you're measuring twice. Some men go silent because they're broken. Some go silent because they're building. Tom Patterson had learned the difference. A year after the hearing, he sat in his workshop on a Tuesday morning, coffee steaming beside him, radio playing Waylon Jennings. Ed's knock would come any minute. 2 raps, pause, 1 rap. Their signal now, their ritual. The rocking chair was nearly finished. He'd started it for no one in particular. Just needed to make something after all the proving, all the documenting, all the evidence that he was real. Turned out the best things got built when you stopped worrying about who they were for. His hands moved across the wood, 69 years old now, scarred from decades of work, steady as ever. These hands had built a house, framed walls in 100-degree heat, crafted a jewelry box that made his granddaughter cry, held evidence folders and signed legal documents and refused to shake when his wife tried to erase him. Linda was somewhere in Arizona. He heard she was happy. He hoped so, truly. Some people spend their whole lives running from getting old. Tom had stopped running. Found out that standing still took more courage than anyone talked about. Ed's knock came. 2 raps, pause, 1 rap. Tom didn't hurry. Finished his pencil mark. Set the tool down with care. The workshop smelled like cedar and possibility, same as it had for 40 years. Same as it would tomorrow. Outside, the neighborhood woke up. School buses stopping, dogs barking, Mrs. Henderson watering her garden, life insisting on itself the way it does. Ed came in without waiting. Brought 2 coffees. Knew Tom's was black. They didn't talk. Didn't need to. Just stood in the morning light while sawdust danced in the sun, and the radio played songs about men who'd survived worse and kept going. Tom picked up his sandpaper, returned to work. Not because anyone was watching, not because he needed to prove anything anymore, just because his hands still fit the tools, because the wood was waiting, because building was what he did. The rocking chair would be finished by next week. Then he'd start something else. A table, maybe, or another box. Didn't matter what. Mattered that he was still here, still making, still refusing to disappear into someone else's story about him. Emily's arbor stood at weddings now, solid oak under spring vows. The jewelry box held her rings, smelled like his workshop every time she opened it. His students were building their own projects, imperfect, honest, real. Proof didn't need to be documented anymore. Proof was in what lasted. Tom thought about the men who might hear this story, men his age, or heading there, men who'd been told they were too old, too slow, too much in the way, men who'd had to prove their worth when just existing should have been enough. His message was simple. You don't need permission to matter. You need a workshop and steady hands and the stubborn refusal to become the ghost someone else wants you to be. At 69, Tom Patterson was done explaining himself. He was too busy building. The sandpaper rasped across wood. Ed sipped coffee and watched. Outside, spring turned toward summer, seasons moving the way they do, indifferent and beautiful. And in that workshop, in the smell of cedar and the rasp of work and the morning light cutting through north windows, Tom did the only thing that mattered. He kept his hands moving. He kept building. He kept being here. Some victories don't feel like winning. They feel like waking up another day and refusing to be erased. They feel like coffee with a friend who shows up. Like teaching a teenage girl to measure twice. Like oak arbors at weddings and jewelry boxes that smell like home. Linda had wanted proof he was disappearing. Tom gave her proof he was here. Not in documents, Not in courtrooms. In every dovetail joint. Every student taught. Every morning that started with coffee and ended with sawdust. You don't prove you matter by arguing. You prove it by building something that outlasts the argument. Tom set down the sandpaper, ran his hand across the rocker's smooth arm. Perfect. Not because it was flawless, because it was finished. What's next? Ed asked. Tom smiled, looked around his workshop, at all the wood waiting, all the projects not yet imagined. Don't know yet, he said, but I've got time to figure it out. Outside, the world kept turning. Inside, two old men drank coffee while the radio played. And somewhere, in workshops and garages and basements across the country, other men picked up their tools and kept building too. Because that's what you do when someone tries to erase you. You build something so solid, so real, so undeniably there, that they can't pretend you were never here at all.